October 5th, 2021. The time is 7:03 p.m. Could everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. Could you guys please remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and military members? Thank you. Monica, could we get a roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Present.
Councilmember Moran?
Present.
Councilmember Kane?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia? Mayor Aguilar?
Present.
For the record, Mayor Pro Tem Garcia is not in attendance, but his absence is excused.
In regards to closed session announcements, we have nothing to report. Changes to agenda, council?
Yes. I have some questions in regards to items 2, 4, and 5. So if we can pull those just for a quick question.
Okay, we'll take them out during the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Citizen comments. The section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the council on any item otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public, when recognized by myself, should come forward, identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with state open laws, meeting laws. No action will be taken by the city council this evening. For items which are on the agenda this evening, members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the council as each item is brought up for discussion. Citizen comments?
Good evening, City Council, City Mayor, City Attorney, and our other city officials, and City of Livingston. I want to take this moment, and my comments are more towards Christians. So if you're not a Christian, you may not understand what I'm saying, and that's okay. As Christians, we're called to pray for one another. And I've come to a couple of these city council meetings, and there's been a lot of contention and high feelings, a lot of emotions, anger, sadness, rejection. And I advocate people standing up for what they believe in. And I can go on record right now saying that a lot of my government officials are not representing me in a way I would choose. But as Christians, we're called to pray for one another. And I think that's what we need to do. I'm not asking people to change their mind on how their views are, but I would like to see my city come together and we pray for one another even when we don't agree with them. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you with humble hearts. You are the great Redeemer, and you have redeemed us from our sins. Not one of us is worthy of you, and not one of us is without sin, not myself included. And we ask that you would forgive us. Forgive us our wicked ways. Forgive us when we want our way instead of your way. We ask that your divine purpose come down to our city of Livingston. We invite you, Holy Spirit, to come and dwell in this city council chamber from every nook and cranny. We ask that you would pour your wisdom, Heavenly Father, into our city council and our mayor, and that you would anoint them with the Holy Spirit, and that you would speak through them boldly and confidently. You would open up their eyes and their ears to hear what you would have them hear. You would give us your truth and your perfect peace. You would build a community where husbands love their wives and wives love their husbands, where parents come home and they cherish their children and they love their children and they teach their children right from wrong. So much of what we hear today is amoral. We're being told that wrong is right, and it is so wrong. Help us to stand true to your word. Help us to love one another, and help us to pray for one another and care for one another. Help us to be true to the way you lead our hearts, but let us speak with kindness and bold conviction on how we feel. And we ask your protection on us, on every citizen in Livingston, and on our city council, and our firefighters, and on our law enforcement, and our EMTs, and our school teachers, Lord. Just blanket us in your divine Holy Spirit, in your wisdom and truth and love. In the name of Jesus we pray, amen.
Any other citizen comments?
Yes, right here. Mike Torres. I was going to ask Randy some questions, but he got a new planning commissioner.
Is this regarding a item on the agenda?
Yeah, well, I want to know that when a project comes up, like the one on B, I know we can't talk about it on Peach, but on B, how many blueprints come out on those projects? When you receive the fee and everything for a developer to come in, how many blueprints come in? You know, the architect, elevation, floor plans,
Mayor.
Sir? Sir,
Okay. Once again,
your question again?
how many what?
When a developer comes in, pays the fee and everything to start a project, how many blueprints do you get?
Oh,
But my
Well-
question is, do you give one to the police department, one for the fire department, Cal Fire?
okay. Great question, and I can answer that. And I just want to note, my name is Charlie Simpson. I am a consultant. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Randy Hatch, who is the city planner, consulting city planner, and anything that I say could be used against me. So, but I'll do my best. So, and maybe Vanessa can correct me if she's aware of anything I'm saying that's wrong. But the normal course of action for a application that's submitted to the city is for it to be first reviewed by staff as to its adequacy and completeness, and then it's sent out to the other departments: police, fire, water, public works, sometimes outside agencies, the county COG and Caltrans. So yes, those things are done.
Because what I'm trying to get an answer is from Cal Fire, is if they had a project meeting, Cal Fire should have been in there first, and those projects that were declined, he should have been there advising them that it wasn't going to work. It would have saved those planners a lot of hours and a lot of money if you would have been there at the start of the project to let them know that it wasn't going to work. So this is what I'm saying, that if there's 3 plans that go out, one for the planners and one for the police department, one for Cal Fire, then that shouldn't have happened. I mean, have Cal Fire come in here on the final voting that night and explain to all of us the reason that it's not going to work.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, I can't speak for, what the planner might have done or not done in regard to that application,
Yeah.
but I'll sure make a note of it. And if you can see me after the meeting or come on by and tell me what the name of the project is, I'll pass it on to him.
Now, the attorney, don't you think that's right, attorney? I mean, you come in there with
Sir, your 3 minutes are up, sir. You have more opportunities to speak I think it's regarding that specific project. You're going to have an opportunity to talk about it or ask questions later on when it comes up. Okay?
all right.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments?
Evening. As you well know, the first time you've seen me here is concerning the cannabis ordinances, and that's the reason I come here, and that's for me to protect them. And my concern is waiving of reading as your first ordinance. Will there be clarification of what ordinances are you talking about? Because right now you're waiving, and as where I see it, you're waiving all ordinances of being explained during a city council. If I'm mistaken, I would like an explanation. If I'm wrong,
It's not waiving, explaining them, it's waiving their reading in its entirety.
who is?
The city
The
is
city.
not.
So you're not going to tell us if there's an ordinance coming
We
up for
read,
vote?
no. Let me finish.
Oh.
By taking this action, we just read the title of the ordinance instead of each word of it when passing the ordinance. There's much discussion in between.
Exactly, and then they need to be discussed. You're just leaving information out for some people that are in the borderline fence of a lot of things. And that is a misunderstanding.
I just told you how we're not leaving information out.
It's just
That's hard.
it's just a process change. It's not going to limit us from discussing the item or changing anything. It's only when you're actually reading for making motions and stuff like that.
So
It's
when that
just,
item comes-
it's
so when
just
the
about
item
making
comes
the
to-
motion at the end.
So when that item comes, will we have a full
Yes.
explanation in the agenda? Because right now,
Yes.
the minutes are not being shown here.
Yes, you have the full explanation.
Well, it's the discussion of the item itself. There's full
No, you have
discussion.
minutes missing from September 30th, held on March 2nd, there's like only 2 pages here. I'm just saying, when the agenda comes and there's a ordinance, will it be fully, you could not say it here, but will it be explained in this agenda?
The ordinance, each word of the ordinance is in the agenda packet.
Will it? But you don't have to explain it as council. Is that what I?
No. Each word of the ordinance is included in the agenda packet. There is then discussion on the ordinance.
Exactly, but they're not in here.
And then after that, if they want to pass it, all they have to do is read the title of it, not read the entire ordinance word for word. That's all that means.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Any other citizen comment?
Catherine Shaw Rodriguez. Tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about our TCP fund. Back in 2004, we learned we had a mess on our hands when the city started testing for TCP contamination in our drinking water, which led to litigation against Dow Chemical in 2005, which was settled in 2011. And nearly $9 million was transferred into the Water Capital Fund in September of that year. Part of that settlement was used in around 2013, 2014 to put a TCP filtration system on well number 8 by Foster Farms. A couple of years ago, a separate TCP fund was set up to track the balance of this settlement money instead of keeping it as a line item in the Water Capital Fund. According to the cash and bank report and balance sheet as of September 30th of this year, there's about $5.7 million in the TCP fund as current assets. 501,000 or so in cash and bank, and about 5.2 million plus in the local agency investment fund. However, this amount is not nearly enough to clean up the whole TCP contamination in our drinking water mess. And we're going to need to borrow a whole lot of money to get the work done.
Citizen comments?
Mayor, council members, Leticia Vasquez speaking. Is Mayor Pro Tem going to show up today eventually? Because my public comment was regarding him, and I would like for him to be here.
Yeah, he will be coming in shortly, I believe, by 7:30.
Would I be allowed to give my public comment at that time?
But no, we have to stick with our schedule.
Is he going to be here on time next council meeting?
It has to do with his employment as a sheriff, so he's trying to work that schedule out.
Okay, so I'll just give my speech.
Okay.
I want to clarify that I'm speaking as a resident of Livingston, not as the city clerk. And I want to remind Mayor Pro Tem Garcia that my role as city clerk does not take away from my rights as a resident of Livingston. In your speech, you stated that we were trash talking about you on social media, and continue by sharing that if you come in late to council meetings, it is because you are out there protecting citizens. We thank you for your commitment to the citizens of Merced County, but we also expect for an elected official to fully participate in meetings where important decisions are being made on behalf of the residents of Livingston. Mayor Pro Tem Garcia, what is the truth? You failed to clarify on your speech. You have failed to share that you are or were investigated by your employer, Merced County. Why was such investigation conducted? Speak the truth. In your speech, you also pointed out that no one has reached out to you. We don't call you because we ask questions face-to-face, and you fail to answer our questions consistently. What is the difference between a phone call and a face-to-face conversation during council meeting? You yourself have stated that you didn't mind a face-to-face conversation, then why don't you answer our questions when we ask face-to-face? We're not saying you're a bad person, we're saying you are not doing what you were elected to do, which is completely different. Thank you for your speech. It had no context or give any answers to the questions that you have been asked multiple times by residents. You wasted our time and money. You speak on how much the recall is going to cost, but failed to mention how you and the rest of the council are costing us or have cost the city of Livingston. The city attorney gets paid for every minute that he sits in that chair. A 6-hour council meeting is not going to be free. In 2018, when Mayor Pro Tem Garcia was a city council member, we had a surplus of $1.2 million. Where did that money go? Council used some of that money to give sergeants of our police department, which includes Councilmember King's brother, a 40% raise. Please stop returning from your responsibilities by using the excuse of your employment. Every single member of the council here, with the exception of 2, have full-time jobs that are also important and serve the community, but they are here on time every single meeting. I demand, not ask, that you actually do what's best for our community and not what's best for you, Mayor Aguilar, Councilmember King, Councilmember Soto, and your friends. I ask that you 4 resign your positions and allow our city to heal and continue to grow. Thank you for your time.
Any other citizen comments? Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to announcement and reports. City staff
Juan, I
announcements.
have
Letter?
emails,
Sorry,
2
go for it.
emails. Okay, the first email is from David Blevins. It says, first, I would like to thank the guys at Public Works for taking care of the water problem this past Saturday. We were without water Saturday morning for about 5 hours. I'm not sure how many were affected, but it was at least my side of the block on 4th Street. Thanks for taking care of the problem with minimal inconvenience to the residents. It could have been much worse. I have 3 questions tonight. How many times has a utility rates hearing been postponed, and how much does it cost the city to re-advertise the hearing and in lost revenue due to the rates not being raised? 2, this question is for the interim city manager. I'm not interested in the city attorney's opinion. That is a conflict of interest. Can the city bill the city attorney, since he is a professional and is being very well paid, for being unprepared for the hearing, which caused the latest postponement? 3, my third question is solely for Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. The city of Livingston has a growing homeless problem. Some mornings I see someone sleeping in front of the council chamber's front door. You attended a homeless conference in Hawaii, paid for by the city. Did you learn anything at that conference that might help? And, go ahead. And then I have another email from Frank Foster, and it says, good evening. I hope this email finds you well. I have 3 simple questions. I will be listening via YouTube. I hope they get answered. These are geared towards our city attorney. Please read these 3 questions loud and clear so the entire public can hear you. Number 1, how much has the recall committee cost our city to this day? 2, can the faces of the recall committee be held accountable after the recall for costing us these funds? My family and I, including the city, know who they are. We would like guidance on this. 3, who can we contact to report misconduct from the Area 1 Merced College Board of Trustee member that threatened citizens in person and online, parentheses, Mario Mendoza? There is plenty of video and online evidence to show. My family and I are eager to share. That's it for emails.
You want to answer those questions, or you want to send a reply to the email?
Yeah, as our writing on the agenda says, this is not a time to answer primarily. It's just to take citizen comment. So we can get back,
We could back via email.
not use council time. for
Okay.
that.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to announcements and reports. City staff announcements and reports. Vanessa, you got any staff?
Our police department has announcements.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Throughout this month of October, you'll see officers wearing our pink patch in recognition of cancer awareness, if I can talk. Second of all, it's short notice, but tomorrow we're having coffee with a cop at 9 a.m. till 11 at Starbucks, so everybody's welcome. A chance to talk one-on-one if you'd like to show up. And I'd like to thank Merced SO and Fresno SO for last week's assistance with the Foster Farms animal rights protest. They came in with a U-Haul truck, brought these huge center blocks out of the truck, and they have mechanisms inside where the activists actually lock themselves into the blocks, and you need special tools and personnel trained to do that. So when I called the undersheriff and asked for assistance, he said, "Chief, we just got guys back from training. We'll get you a team out there to handle it." So that was good news. Between Merced Sheriff's Department and Fresno Sheriff's Department, they had the proper tools, the proper people trained, and they were out of there. They had everybody out of the devices and booked into the jail before the sun went down. So it was a short protest that luckily we had the right tools at our fingertips to make it happen. So thank you.
No other staff reports,
Thank you, Vanessa. City manager announcements and reports.
no items to report, Mayor.
Does anybody have questions for our city manager, council? I have a quick question, Vanessa. Could you update us on the landscaping status in regards to the third party, the work they've been doing?
Absolutely. The landscaper contractor started work at the end of September, and they are scheduled to be servicing the city on bi-weekly basis. So they did their first day on the job, I believe the week of September 25th, and they're going to be here every other week.
Awesome, thank you. I know that we had approved the new playground structure at Lucero Park. Any update regarding that?
All of those items are ordered, and they were waiting on them to come get delivered so
Awesome.
we can install.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, council? All right, we're going to move on to city council members' announcements and reports. Councilmember King?
Yeah, on September 21st, I attended the mosquito abatement meeting. Their calls of service has been up 5% last month. So if you're continuing to see these problems, please call 722-1527. And the second thing I want to answer Letty's question was that I was not part of that negotiation when the raises were given. It's on record, I stepped out of every negotiation, and my brother got promoted almost 7 months after the raise was given. So I had nothing to do with that. The rest of the council, including Mayor Sammer, was part of that. So just to get down the record.
Councilmember Jose Manuel?
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I attended the Recreation Commission meeting. Very informational. There's always a lot of things going on with the commission. And one of the main items was right after that meeting was the Beer Fest, which was a success. I was also a volunteer at that event. It was very successful. A lot of sponsors, and it was fun being able to volunteer with a lot of other great volunteers from the city. And that was along right next to the LHS class reunion, so that was fun as well. And let's see, I also attended the Central Valley Latino Roundtable. which normally gets elected officials and leaders from throughout the Central Valley together, where they discuss important issues that has to do with healthcare and housing and other issues related to rural communities. And it was a coincidence that one of the items and one of the presenters was related to the TCP. Two of UC Merced professors and researchers, they just completed a total brand new investigation report, and they barely brought it out, and they got it published last month. So there is some additional research reading that I will be doing within the next few weeks, and I invite the residents to also look into it and continue being educated about what is one of the main items that is affecting our water, our local water. Actually, one of the only other things, one of the items that was discussed during the REC meeting, and me being the liaison from the council, was that regarding the interest of having the council and REC joint meeting. I know that the commissioners were looking forward to meet as soon as possible. So I think it would probably be a good idea that we can take that opportunity now that everyone is here to be able to kind of look at some possible dates so we can get that accomplished as soon as possible. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Maria Soto?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I attended the Cal City's annual conference September 22nd to the 24th. So thank you, City of Livingston, for providing this exceptional educational experience, networking opportunities, and assisting in helping me gather information and informational tools that may help Livingston be more successful. Highlights were a dynamic presentation by Richard Montañez, AKA the godfather of Latino marketing. He was a humble man experiencing a revelation that spurred a revolution that changed corporate and CEOs alike. He is actually the man that had a revelation in store that brought us, well, hopefully it's our children, and hopefully it's not our children because I know how bad these are for us, but they are the Flaming Hot Cheetos. Again, a really popular item that children seem to like with extra cheese, and adults have caught on to this as well. He was a janitor, and he made his way all the way up into other countries and is now very successful. Very humbling man. Sessions I attended were building an effective city council manager team from day one, and that really sparked interest in me because these are some of the things that we are transitioning through as a city. Talked about effective relationships, hiring, supporting, and guiding as important functions that will serve the community in any situation that communities face. I also attended aging infrastructure, capital improvement plans for cities of the future. I also attended advancing equity, how old policies still impact cities. Many of these sessions that I attended are relevant to what our council is facing, either in our challenges and in our successes as we move forward. I also attended a session, Level Up Your Leadership, Creating a Governance Culture of Civility and Purpose. And this was really interesting because it was brought on with the panel consisted of the Women's Caucus, and they were women elected who were facing additional challenges in their efforts to build trust and gain consensus. On Friday, I attended Attracting the Next Generation of Workforce Within Virtual Career Exploration. And another interesting one was how the history of Old Sacramento came to be and all the development that impacted the whole nation. And lastly, I also attended a perception versus reality in regards to cannabis issues, where there was a panel of city managers, mayors, and attorneys that spoke on filling the gaps because of business shutdowns and replacing lost revenue. Last night, let's see, I also attended the Merced City Council meeting last night, where the Merced Hispanic Chamber was presented with the proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month. And just to remind people that the Hispanic Chamber, Merced County Hispanic Chamber, will also host its last Mercado on Thursday. It is bringing awareness to breast cancer. The Mercado starts from 6 till 10 p.m. on this Thursday night. Also in the back, October is also domestic Violence Prevention Month. There are some pamphlets in the back just for informational uses. If you'd like to grab one, feel free to. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
I don't have anything today. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. I apologize. I skipped something, and I knew that I had forgotten something very important. And this Thursday, we do have the first street fair for the month of October for this year. Actually, it's been probably, I think, 2 years since we had something going on downtown. So we invite everyone this Thursday from 6 to 9 for the first street fair, and it's going to be going on for all 4 Thursdays of the month of October, on the 7th, on the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. And every Thursday is going to have a different theme, and one of them is going to be DACA and immigration, and the other one is going to be the Pet Fest and parade, and the other one is going to be, I forgot what it was, healthcare. So every Thursday there's going to be something different and interesting, and besides a lot of, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of food. So come on down every Thursday, 6 to 9. And a question, just wondering, I just noticed that under the announcements and reports, we don't have a supervisor report anymore?
Yeah, that's correct. We took it off.
Was that something that needed to be done by the council, or was that just?
No, does that need to be? It was, I think, just a courtesy that we had them on here. And based on other jurisdictions and practices, the Board of Supervisors doesn't have a announcement in the report. Usually they'll report under citizen comments. Is that correct? Right.
All right. Thank you for the information. Thank you.
All right, for mayor announcements and reports, also attended the Livingston High School Alumni Reunion, a great event, a lot of great things going on. We have a car show and a pop-up event, so it was great to see everybody out there enjoying themselves and supporting the committee there and the local high school. I also attended the League of California Cities conference on just one day on Thursday. I went up there and signed up. Myself attended the city council, city manager, form of government panel and presentation. I also attended a session in regards to development and housing needs, the current situation, the state and our valley. And then I also just want to say congratulations to our fire captain Alvis, which had a baby. His wife had a baby last council meeting. He barely made it on time, so congratulations, Fire Captain Alvis. And that's it for me. Let's move on to our consent agenda. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine or non-controversial and will be enacted by one vote unless separate action is requested by the city manager or city council member. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the city council or city manager request that a specific items be removed. And I know you, Jose, you had questions on 2, 4, and 5?
Well, actually, it's just 2 and 4, because 4 and 5 are pretty much the same thing. So just 2 and 4.
2 and 4? Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, basically, on number 2, which is the authorized remote teleconference meetings, resolution proclaiming a local emergency and authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the legislative bodies of the city of Livingston pursuant to Brown Act provisions. And I just wanted to ask Vanessa a little bit more information on the idea behind it. And I did ask Vanessa just very briefly what, just to kind of have one, just more information on why we need to have a resolution proclaiming a local emergency, since we have not had the county or the state declare any changes to a mandate or a mandate or a change in the emergency from the health department. So just wanted to see. And then if we have, if we proclaim a local emergency, even though the state already has it, I'm just quite not sure why we need to have our own. And if we are somewhat overriding or overstepping our boundaries, and if we're trying to do more than what the state would allow us to do. And I don't know if that's only for Vanessa and or legal.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, I did explain that this is in regards to a new Senate bill that it was just signed into law by the governor, and perhaps our city attorney can elaborate a little bit more about this.
What it does simply is just allow us to continue to meet as we have, to have the teleconference, the people to participate remotely. That's basically it in a nutshell.
Doesn't the state already allow us to do that?
They passed this bill to allow us to do that, and then we pass our own resolution to implement it. And again, it's just to allow us to continue to meet and have participation as we have since the emergency was initially declared.
And this is only for 30 days or until the end of the month, and then we have to do the same thing over and over?
No. No, it will remain in effect, I believe, this one.
Say that again?
I believe this one remains in effect longer. I did not, I didn't prepare it myself. I believe this one is not limited to 30 days.
Okay, so I'm looking at the second page of the ordinance. From the top where it says, whereas the city council, let's see. Or maybe I read it incorrectly, but it says, or the city council shall not 30 days after teleconferencing for the first time pursuant to this resolution and every 30 days thereafter, make the following findings by majority vote. Maybe I misunderstood that section. The legislative body has recognized the circumstances. Do you see it?
Yes, I think my understanding.
Effective date of resolution, section 4.
No, he's referring to a different section.
Okay. Effective date of resolution, wait, October 30th. Okay, immediately, okay, there's another section. So there's 2 sections. Section 4, effective date of resolution. This resolution should take effect immediately upon its adoption and shall become effective until the earlier of October 30th, 2021, or such time the city council directors make a subsequent finding by a majority vote. But the first paragraph that I was mentioning, it does mention, let's see, that it needs to be, so that's where I'm getting confused. Not 30 days after teleconferencing for the first time pursuant to this resolution and every 30 days thereafter.
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm just, maybe the language or just me, or if you can clarify that.
Yeah, I thought that was, it says if there's information to reconsider, but I will clarify that for you.
Okay, so, I want to be able to be clear before we even,
Well, I'll clarify it for you before the next meeting.
okay, so what do we need to do with this? Do we need to,
You need to pass this tonight in order to continue to have the meetings as you have in the past to allow the fuller participation.
well, I personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable to vote on something that I'm not clear about. But that's just me.
That-
So that's why I was asking, just to be clear.
Could we talk about it next council meeting?
Right, right. And then we will adopt another one if that's what's required.
So
Thereafter.
so we could continue it tonight.
No, I'd recommend you pass this tonight, and then if we need to come back in another 30 days, we'll come back in another 30 days with an additional one. Well,
Okay.
that's the question, whether it's to amend it or if we need another one, to clarify what that means.
Okay, so were you asking to approve this as it is without,
So as it reads, it says like every 30 days. So
Yeah.
they have to pass it, but in order to continue to doing business the way we do, we need to pass it and get more clarification on the next time if we need to continue doing it every 30 days or if this one suffices.
so
Correct.
we have done other items that, and we have allowed and we all agreed to continue them at a little later date. I don't see why this would make any difference. I mean, it's,
Well, that's always your right, but it would mean that you can't have the remote meetings next time.
So that means nobody could call in if we don't pass it tonight. Next meeting, everybody has to be in person.
then let's be in person. I mean, we're all in person right now. We've been in person for a long time. I don't see a difference. I
But
mean,
this one is for the public as well, correct?
Yes, correct.
It's not us, it's in regards to the public
so,
participating.
so what that means that if we don't pass this, what you're saying, what, if I'm hearing you correctly, that if you don't pass this, we won't be able to allow comments via phone call.
Correct. All the things we've been temporarily waiving.
I'm still a little bit confused. Maybe I needed it to have or had done more research, but
So I take it if we don't pass it today, everybody that's calling in is not going to be allowed to call in, or we're not going to be able to receive any emails to read for public comments. Is that correct?
Correct, and any meeting thereafter until you passed it.
Until the 30 days or?
No, it would be, you couldn't do it as of now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could always.
That's why it's been presented this way. You need to do it now or else you can't do it.
so this new law that was just passed, I don't know, I'm assuming last week you guys said, somebody said last week or 2 weeks ago, says that if we don't pass our own resolution, we cannot allow public comment or anyone to call in. And if it's been within 2 weeks, I'm sure, well, I don't have it in front, I don't have the bill in front of me, but I'm sure they would have given it like some grace time in between. They're not going to say, well, this becomes effective tomorrow, and if you don't do it by next week, you're not going to be able to allow this.
That is what it says.
That's what it says? That sounds very different to me. I mean, it just doesn't seem to make sense. But
It was just signed and then we just prepared these resolutions for each of the local agency to continue to have remote meetings.
so the way it is right now, we have to do this again in 30 days or pass a new resolution that will clarify or delete what we have here that says?
Yes, correct.
Okay, well, I'll wait and see, have a little bit more discussion and hear what everyone else has to say. In the meantime, I'll figure it out.
Then item number 4.
Does this item have to go out for public comment?
Are we gonna, yeah. Any public comment regarding this item?
Catherine Shaw Rodriguez. The thing that has me, I hate using the word confused, consternated maybe, is the section 4 where it says, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. That's clear. I got that. And shall be effective until either the earlier of, in other words, whichever comes first, October 30th, 2021, or such time that the City Council of Directors makes a subsequent finding, yada, yada, yada. All right. I'm just curious, is if we really need to do this in order to have YouTube, in order to have phone calls, in order to receive emails, why an end date of October 30th, 2021 was in the resolution? Because it makes it seem like, to me, that we pass it today to keep going, and we're going to have to come back before the end of this month and do it again to keep going. So, am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct. So it's that last part that we don't necessarily have to do it every 30 days. If we do something before that, meaning the next meeting, which would make it more permanent.
Yeah, but it's when it says this resolution shall take effect immediately and be effective until the earlier of October 30th, 2021. So something in the next, if I'm understanding this right, something in the next resolution that gets passed has to have language within it to override the October 30th deadline.
That's correct.
So we should be seeing a new resolution with new language prepared at $200 an hour when we could have had this one already one and done.
No, talk to the legislature.
Any other public comment?
I guess I just have a clarifying question. So it sounds like there's a policy that was passed by our governor, and then that policy says every town should pass their own resolution to be able to follow our policy that we passed at the governor's level. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And so we don't have, there's no deadline as to when to do it. We just want to do it immediately, because if we don't do it right now, then at the next meeting in 2 weeks, people are not going to be able to participate.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll bring it back.
Hi, Council. Mandeep Singh here. Quick question for Tom. If this gets passed, then do the in-person meetings stop and it all goes virtual?
No, it allows the hybrid meetings to continue, both with in-person and remote participation at the same time.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments?
Good evening, Council. Hilda Lopez. I would actually like to ask council members who vote in favor of passing this to also consider that if they feel that it's important enough to enact a local emergency, which I totally agree with this, but I would also ask them to consider to start wearing face coverings in order to protect the public. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll bring it back to council. And we are going to be able to just plug it in back into our consent calendar, correct? And vote out all as a unit, this specific
Yeah,
item?
You could go through more, or you can do them one at a time. It's council's preference.
You want to vote separately?
I do have one more question.
Go ahead.
So earlier when I spoke with Vanessa mentioned a totally different thing than what Tom has shared. Vanessa shared in regards to related to grant opportunities.
I didn't say grant opportunities. I said in the event that there is any future funding available for cities, we will have a resolution that is in compliance with this bill that is signed by the governor.
Exactly. So, yeah, so I would just,
That is separate than the
Yeah.
actual legal explanation that Mr. Helena just shared too.
okay, so, thank you.
All right, you have a item, we could vote all together as one in the consent calendar. We could plug it back in. But you have a question on number 4?
Yes. On number 4, so it's basically approve the minutes of meeting, and there's, in this case, March 12, and there's also another item for March 16, but I think the question is the same for both. It's in the past, for years, as far as I can remember, I'm used to seeing, and I think the community and the residents and everyone is used to seeing a different type of meeting minutes where there's some type of description of what was said or who said what, or this was commented or this was answered. Right now, what we have is just basically we're asked to approve just basically pretty much bullet points of the meeting. In some instances, that's all it is. So I just want to I did have that some type of response by Vanessa, so I just wanted it to for the residents to also know and be aware of the idea behind it.
Yeah. Yes, Mayor, Council, I did share with Councilmember Moran earlier on this question regarding the minutes for meetings, that this is actually an industry standard for city governments, and it is a California City Clerks Association best practice to produce action minutes rather than verbatim minutes. I did share with Councilmember Moran an excerpt of the California City Clerks Association handbook, where in Chapter 5, Section 5.8.1, it delineates the form and the content of the minutes that should be produced by government entities. And it talks about that for governmental agencies, action minutes or brief summary minutes are the appropriate style to meet the intent of the government code. Verbatim minutes should not be used as they detract from the focus of the legislative body's collective decision-making. This is from the city clerks, the California City Clerks Association, so that is an administrative decision that I requested that we move forward with.
Thank you, Vanessa.
I have a question for Vanessa on that one. Whose job is that to keep minutes? Is it our city employees or our elected officials, the clerk's job? I wasn't clarified on who's supposed to keep the actual minutes.
At this moment, I would say both. Our city clerks our elected city clerk's job description. It delineates the production of the council minutes. However, in the absence, our deputy city clerk is the one that puts those together.
Thank you, Vanessa.
So would it be appropriate for our elected city clerk to be upon the dais to conduct her business as she should while she's here?
I mean, that would save the city money instead of paying overtime. We do have elected official that signed up for this job.
No. Oh. Maybe that's a discussion that needs to happen with her. That's something that she's able to do. Maybe Tom could have a conversation with her, maybe, or Vanessa.
Yeah, no, we'll discuss that.
In the past, how has this been done the last few years?
I can answer that.
Tom, Vanessa?
I'm sorry.
In the past, how has this been done?
The minutes?
Yeah.
The minutes were done on verbatim minutes, but that really is very labor intensive on city staff. And I really need to, in a way where I need to use city staff resources wisely, like verbatim minutes that take 3 days to put together, all the way back from March, we are completely behind. It is something that, and if we're not required by city code, we would rather ensure that our staff's time is used wisely in the within the needs of the city for this position.
Yes, come forward, please.
So my role as a city clerk is to sign off documents and make sure that those documents, including the resolutions, are passed appropriately and that they're shared with the residents at appropriate time and that they're informed before I sign those documents, which is what I do. Now, if the city wants me to take the role of everything that the deputy city clerk does, then that looks like a full-time job. I get paid $100 a month. So if the city would like for me to take the role of taking minutes, preparing agendas, and being at the city hall 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, which is not possible because, I am employed somewhere else, then we could have that discussion. There's a job description that was given to me that is very, very old, and it was done a very long time ago. I also understand that our previous city clerks didn't even show up to meetings before. So yes, let's talk about it and discuss my wages and discuss how you would like me to participate more. I also have come and shadowed the deputy city clerk before because I wanted to help when she wasn't here. So let's have a discussion. Call me, email me, and I can come meet with everybody, and then we can talk about how we move forward. Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Or take it out for public comment?
Catherine Cheryl Rodriguez, unofficial historian, I guess you could say, for the city of Livingston. I've been city council watching since at least 2007, and over the years, I have looked over a lot of meeting minutes. And I can say that we have not had verbatim minutes, like as in a transcript. You could call them a summary minutes, but they weren't verbatim word for word. I have observed over the years and also talked to the previous deputy city clerk, and the prior practice is that someone within the city, someone would take notes, and the notes that would be taken would be turned over to her, and she would use those to produce the minutes. And this job just kind of rotated around over the years. Once again, I was pretty much at every single city council meeting there has ever been since 2007, and I can usually count the number of times I've missed on maybe one, if not both hands over the years. And you would hardly ever see a city clerk or a city treasurer in the audience. I mean, this is more of a more recent thing. So to say that these bullet point things, there's legal and then there's moral. For years, we have struggled with transparency. For years, we have struggled to get more information out. For years, we have worked on getting a record that the residents can go back to and pull minutes if they want to, take a look at the announcements and reports and find out what at least a bare minimum of a summary of what the contract planner said, or the public works director said, or the public works superintendent said, or the recreation specialist said, or what council members said, and what the public comments, what they said. This is a travesty. At minimum, at bare minimum, there should be at least a one-sentence summary of the things that people say. And especially when you get into reports, there needs to be some kind of summary of what is reported. These items are important. They're important for the historical record, and they're important for residents who want to go back and look at what has transpired in the past. These bullet points, a list of names, tells you nothing about what actually transpired in the meeting. We're not asking for verbatim minutes. We've never had verbatim minutes. The closest you could even call verbatim minutes was back around 2008, 2009 during the last big water rate brouhaha that happened. But since then, we have not had anything that even closely resembles verbatim, a transcript. These minutes give no information to the public about what happened, about details of projects that were put forward, details about questions that were asked, or details from the citizens who made comments, whether they are for or against a certain project, or for asking for more information or clarification. 10 years from now, someone ought to be able to pull a copy of these minutes and get an idea of what happened in the meeting and what was actually said. They can't do it with the way these are written right now.
Colette Alvarez, P.O. Box 255, Livingston, California. I hope you have your pencil ready to take notes. Merced County Grand Jury Findings, 2006-2007, 06-07-15, City of Livingston and the sewer trunk line. That is the illegal sewer trunk line that our current city attorney was involved in. Number 6, under finding, you'll find this on page 72 of the 2006-2007 Merced County Grand Jury Finding. And if you go to number 6, under findings, the minutes from the city council meeting are so brief that finding information is extremely difficult. You already have a Merced Grand Jury finding against the way the city of Livingston was taking minutes in the past. And they were better than what you guys are doing now. Under recommendations, on page 76, that's page 75. Page 75 of the 2006-2007 Merced County Grand Jury Finding, 06-07-15. Number 1, the very first sentence under recommendation, the City of Livingston must improve the records of council meetings. Also, your planning commission meetings are brief. You're not writing down what we're saying. You're saying, oh, She came and said something. We take time out of our nights, we take time out of our day, and we take time to review the documents. We care about the city of Livingston. And to do such a disservice, and when a grand jury has already found against you, and to go and do it again, and do it again, words do not even come to my tongue about how insulting this is. We want to build a community. We want people to come and speak at the microphone. I don't agree with everybody up here. I don't have to. But I want them to come and speak. And then I want their words represented. Even if they are different from what I believe in our American process. This is our fundamental rights. This is what we are as citizens. This is what our flag stands for. This is what people have died for our country. They've gotten on boats and come across. They've gone through deserts to give us a better life. This matters. And to say, oh, this code and all of this, Merced grand jury trumps any code book, in my opinion. You've been legally found in violation in the past. It went before Judge McCabe. Please do the right thing. Come on. Everybody else is giving up their time. Now, some people are doing it because they want a project or something like that, and they're, self-serving their interests. But there are some people here that come time after time after time, and they don't do it because of the great decor in this room. They're not getting a lot out of it. They do it for love of country, love of their city, and love of their fellow neighbor. That is Merced County Grand Jury Findings, 2006, 2007, page 72 through page 76, 06-07-15, City of Livingston Sewer Trunk Line. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments? We'll bring it back to council. Any further questions? All right.
Yeah, I got something. Or go ahead. So I hear everybody out there. Maybe we have to look into putting out a position for council meetings for someone to type all our what we're saying up here or whatnot, because Monica surely has a lot on her plate to do. That's why we're so behind. Maybe that's something in the future we can look at, hire somebody full-time and put them in that position if it's very important to the community. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm not sure if anybody else has any additional comments, but at this time, I would like to make a recommendation to pull those two items from the consent agenda and approve them separately. And at least we can have a consideration to do whatever we want to do with them individually and vote whichever way we want to vote on those items. But I would suggest to not, to not approve them at this time and have probably have a continued conversation, because now I was not aware of those that additional information, so I do believe it is important to at least have that opportunity, and we don't want to get ourselves in trouble again. And if we're not going to get in trouble, then by all means, we all will have an opportunity in 2 weeks or a month to approve them as they are and, continue on with business as usual. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. I'm in agreement with regards to, it's nice just having that additional information. I don't know about the grand jury situation. That was a long time ago, before our time. But I think, considering possible ramifications, and we need to consider that and look into that. And I know it has, been difficult for Monica to take on that role and typing, but maybe we could come up with some kind of middle ground and have better description, the minutes and stuff like that. I understand that's a concern the public has, and we want to be as transparent as possible. So I would like to look into it further before we could approve this. So I'm asking the same thing, to wait on the approval of the minutes until we get further clarification.
Mayor, if
Yes, go ahead.
may share something.
Yes.
Besides the action minutes, we also are posting the links for the videos for the council meetings online. So they are available at the same, in the same link or webpage where the agendas now live. So this is something that, for transparency purposes, they are also being uploaded, and Monica has gone over and uploaded quite a few of those videos for historical purposes. If anybody wants to click on them and see what actually has taken place within any council meeting, those are available on our website as well.
In regards, just curiosity, in regards to videos, does the city keep a copy of those YouTube videos? Like, for example, if somebody can't access YouTube and they need a disc or something like that, is that something we're able to provide?
We keep a copy of the recordings. We record the meeting, so we have copies of the recordings.
Thank you, Monica. All right,
Thank you
Council.
for sharing that out. Again, I just pulled up our website, and all the videos are available, recognizing the fact that moving forward with the decisions that Vanessa has intended to make in regards to saving time and efforts on our deputy city clerk, it is a bold move. And these changes that we're trying to make in order to save the city a little bit of money. Again, there are the videos that are available to our residents. Again, it's what our deputy city clerk and her job duties during the day, and many of us that work during the day take on as part of being here, going over the minutes, discussing items, hearing from our public. It's appreciated for the council to hear all the ideas and the questions and concerns that are brought before us, documenting everything. Again, I'm not saying it's tedious, but it is a very big workload, especially when we're talking on items such as items on the consent agenda that were to be voted through, lengthy discussions that have brought us all the way to about 8:17. So again, recording our history is very important. Knowing how we've gotten to this point is also very important. Moving forward with new ideas and trying to do what's best in the city, best interest of the city and our finances is some of the decisions that we make here tonight and moving forward. So appreciate everybody's comments, and thank you, Vanessa, for trying to move forward with some items that would save us time and money.
Thank you. Tom?
Sure. Yeah, I just want to make clear, there's a difference between the case, the pipeline case, and the civil grand jury, which has an important responsibility, but I just want to point out it is the civil grand jury. It's not the criminal grand jury that we all think about on TV. It's the civil grand jury is a group of citizens that makes recommendations to local governmental agencies, not decisions that they must implement.
Out of curiosity, were YouTube videos being uploaded back in 06, 07? Was meetings being
Not
recorded?
that I'm aware of.
Not during those times.
No? Okay.
There wasn't any uploads directly to the website.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. All right, council. So you guys want to vote separately, all together?
So if we remove those, are we gonna come back and retype those minutes for that day, or are we just leaving it the same? Or we can continue those 2 items, the 2-minute items for a future?
I mean, just in regards to myself, considering additional information, the YouTube videos are being recorded, the links being provided when those minutes are requested. We keep a record of the actual video. I feel more comfortable, with the current status of the new approach we're taking on the minutes.
Thank you. Just for clarification. Thanks.
So we could, since we pulled them out, let's just vote separately. So we'll take on item number 2, which is authorize the remote teleconference meetings, which resolution proclaim a local emergency authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the legislative bodies of the city of Livingston pursuant to the Brown Act provisions. We have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Soto. Could we get a roll call?
Motion approved by a vote of 3, 1, and 1 no voting.
Do you want to cast a vote?
For the record, my vote is yes.
Let me restart it so we can all have it.
So do we have to make a new motion, or? No, we could still vote. Okay.
Motion approved by a vote of 4, 1.
Thank you. And then item number 4, which is the approved minutes of meetings, approval minutes of meeting held on March 2nd, 2021. We have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. We have a second.
Yes, I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember King. Will we get a roll call?
I'm sorry, which item was it?
Item number 4.
Item 4. Motion approved by a vote of 4, 1.
Thank you. Do you guys want to vote on the meeting separately as well, the second item, or the item number 5?
Well, we're just separate, right?
Okay, so item number 5, approve minutes of meeting, approval of minutes of meeting held on March 16, 2021. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. We have a second.
Yes, I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember King. Will we get a roll call?
Motion approved by a vote of 4, 1.
Okay, now we're going to be taking the rest of the consent calendar. Do we have a motion for a consent calendar?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilwoman Maria Soto.
Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
We're going to go ahead and move on to our public hearings. Resolution to approve the Villages and Main Apartment Community Site Plan and Design Review 2019-4 and associated environmental documents for the construction of a 480-unit multifamily housing development southeast of the intersection of Peach Avenue and Main Street, adjacent to the south of Livingston High School playing fields. This item was continued from September 21st council meeting.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. With me, I have Charlie Simpson. He is our environmental consultant from Basecamp Environmental. And what we have here tonight, it's the Villages at Main, which is the residential apartment community southeast of the intersection of Peach Avenue and Main Street and Lincoln Boulevard. This is considered a high-density residential project. And I will be providing you with a quick overview of what we we went over in our previous meeting on September 21st. And also, Charlie will go over some of the concerns that were brought up during the comments by the public on that meeting. So, on the public hearing conducted on September 21st, 2021, it was decided to be continued for today, October 5th, 2021. During the public hearing comments or concerns, 3 items were brought up to our attention. One of them was the noise in and around a property that it's within the project, and you will see that shortly. It was brought up a concern about elevators for 3-story units and also any fire department equipment. Just as you can see, the village is at Main, the location map. It is this section outlined here in the red area. And the section here that you see in between, it's the parcel that is not part of the project, and that is and that was a parcel that it was brought up as a concern for the noise component. Just as an overview, the project summary, it will consist of 20 3-story buildings, each with 24 units, or 8 units per floor. These units will be 1 to 3 bedroom units. The project will also have a community building that it will be featuring a leasing office, grand room, some kitchen equipped with a kitchen for events, a parcel center, lounge, game room, exercise, and yoga room. Just that's a quick overview or aerial picture of what the complex is, how they're going to be located, and what the and how the whole development will look like. And then again, the area here in the white, it's the area that it's not part of the project. So within some of the concerns that were brought up on the public hearing on September 21st, it was the noise for the parcel that it's not part of the development, the elevators for the 3-story units, and fire department equipment for future fire responses. So on that, Charlie will go over some of those responses.
Mayor and council, I think I introduced myself already, so I was asked to provide some comments about 2 of these issues. One, the noise potential impacts on the parcel that is surrounded by the project, and 2, the need for elevators. And the comments that I make are in the context of the fact that the entire environmental disclosure for the project is covered in the EIR that was presented to you last time and has been out for public review and is before you right now for certification. And even though there are concerns that have been expressed to you in the public meetings, none of these have called into question the findings of the EIR. Rather, they're additional concerns that were not identified in the EIR specifically and were not pulled out as being potentially significant. So in fact, all of the environmental effects that are disclosed in the EIR have been reduced to less than significant, either are less than significant or have been reduced to less than significant with mitigation measures. So in certifying the EIR, which is the first action that's requested of you, kind of the point of your decision is to weigh, and this is what the CEQA law says, is to weigh all of the information in the record and reach your best conclusion about whether the EIR adequately addresses the environmental effects and whether it should be certified and whether on that basis the project should be approved. So the noise issue, the concern that was raised was, paraphrasing, what about this poor guy that lives in this house that's surrounded by the project? And not being facetious about it, this was the concern. He will be overwhelmed with emergency calls and flashing lights and sirens and so on, such that, this is basically a significant noise effect, a significant light and glare effect. And those are two issues that were specifically addressed in the EIR and not found to be significant. And so we poked around with this issue a little bit after the last meeting to try to quantify what the effect on that house would be, because that's below the level of analysis that we do in the EIR. So what we did was gather a little information on citywide police and fire calls, which amount to something like 2,500 calls per year. And of those, 3 are what you could call code 3 calls. These are lights and siren types of calls. They are not broken down any further. So we don't know how many calls were about apartments and how many were about houses. We do have some idea and know that many of the calls, not a majority, but many of the calls are about problems on the streets, they're brush fires, they're things that have nothing to do with housing. But we're not trying to adjust for that. So just out of those 2 numbers, we realize that something like that over the course of a year, for every unit in town, which is about 3,700 units, there's like 1/3 of a call for every house or every residential unit in town if you spread them over the entire population. And of that, I'm sorry, I started that sentence wrong. So you take that number and apply it to the 480 units that are located in this proposed project, and at full build-out, that's when all 480 units are built, and assuming that these new units produce police and fire calls at the same rate as the whole range of housing that's in the city, you have something like 178 potential code 3 calls to the site over the course of a year. That's about 1 per 3 days. And if you look at the site plan layout there and see the one vertical street that's north-south oriented, and you consider all of the units to the left of that, to the west of that, that's about half the units in the subdivision. And those are the units where if there was a code 3 fire or police call, the lights and sirens and so on would have the potential to disturb the owner of that home. And this is very arbitrary and very general, but I think also very generous. So what we're saying in our analysis of this is, of the 178 calls that might show up or that might happen in the apartment complex over the course of the year, only half of those would it really have any significant effect on the owner of the home. So in all, and I'm trying to bring it down to the point that is succinctly made in Vanessa's slide, is that a call involving lights and sirens with all of these assumptions that we've made and disallowing for any further assumptions that might reduce the number is only going to happen about once every 6 days. Once every 6 days, there might be a code 3 call to the apartment, and that's a big maybe. So try and translate that into action. It doesn't amount to a significant potential effect. It doesn't amount to justification for building a wall around the house, and it's consistent with the findings of the EIR that find that the project won't have a significant noise effect. So, okay, so that's, and I don't know if you want to ask any questions about that piece of it at this point in time, or should I continue with the elevator part? You know, this was also a concern raised by some of the citizens at the meeting, and the EIR did analyze potential impacts on fire services, did consult with the fire chief, and did produce our own report of what we found, and in the end found that the project was not expected to have any significant effect on fire service. Some of the facts about elevators contributed to that finding. One is all the buildings are required to be sprinkled under the building code, so the need for and a frequency of high energy fire service response is pretty low. There was no input from any of the fire officials or building officials that indicated that we ought to have elevators or should consider elevators. And there is no precedent in the past for the city requiring elevators for 3-story apartment buildings. So it's, and the elevators aren't utilized by the fire service professionals when responding to events. It's just not how they do their work. So all in all, we didn't see any cause for overturning the results of the EIR and could not find this to be a significant concern, at least on a technical level. Now that I'm divorcing that from whatever content, you know, your public has to, you know, share with you, but that is our analysis of it. So one last thing and then I'll let Vanessa take over here, but the last thing that I had on my list was, as Randy, your regular planner, has pointed out for you, the state involvement in housing, the state promotion of housing, and the identified need for housing in California, which is a national news item, continuing, is very important. And he emphasized that this project was a real opportunity for Livingston to address those needs locally and on a state level for high-density housing. And regardless of whether these are market rate or affordable housing, these are the types of units that are needed to accommodate growing populations. So they may not be the cheapest possible housing, but they are the kinds of things that people who are moving up through the housing market can afford. So I think that's probably enough for now, unless there are questions the council has for me.
No worries. If anything, I'll go over the last item and we can
Yes,
go over
please.
questions. So in regards to the fire department equipment, we feel that the development, the developer is paying their fair share as far as coming into the city with their project, and this is coming from impact fees. And then we are asking new developers or any new development that is coming into the city to sign in to the existing Community Facilities District, which is CFD 2017-1. Under this, just to put into some context, the development paying their fair share, they pay their impact fees. It is a one-time fee that it is used for, this fee is earmarked for any capital equipment or infrastructure purchase based on the impact of new development. Right now, we are looking about collecting just on fire department or fire impact fee somewhere in and around $175,000. The developers pay a different tiers. We have a police impact fee, we have a recreation or parks impact fee, and we have a fire impact fee. So this impact fee for fire, it's about $175,000 at the moment. And what you're looking at this developer coming in, each one of their units coming into the CFD 2017-1. This is ongoing. The CFD, it's been approved and it doesn't have a sunset date, so there's no expiration. This is money that the city will be collecting on perpetuity. It is about $600, $651 right now per unit. So you're looking at collecting somewhere in the neighborhood of $310,000 on an annual basis. This is the CFDs are collected through the property tax process, and this is something that it will be supplementing the maintenance and operation, the ongoing maintenance and operations of the development for police, fire, and park maintenance. So any questions?
Thank you, Vanessa. Council, any questions?
Yes, so those were primarily some of the main questions that were asked during our previous meeting, and I understand that we had planned or there was a meeting, and I do want to say that I do apologize for not attending that meeting. There was a miscommunication to where I wasn't sure when it was going to be, but it took place. So I wasn't able to be there, and where these items were discussed. I mean, other than once again, and since the last meeting, the same concerns were expressed to me by different residents from the community. Other than still there were some various concerns, but the major concern was in regards to the fire department equipment. And like I stated before, it's not that I believe that developers should pay for it. It's just my point is that my concern and that of I believe the majority of the residents that expressed their concern to me was that it should have been done by the city, and the city should have been ready for something like this, from a long time ago. So I just want to make it clear that I'm not putting it on the developer or any other developer that is considering similar projects like this. Once again, I do believe that similar projects like this are very important for our community. We know that. I mean, we need more housing in our community and pretty much everywhere else. So, I mean, everything's the same as it was 2 weeks ago. Nothing has changed. I mean, I'm not sure that I was expecting anything different. I mean, we're back to 2 weeks ago. But I just wanted it to, well, besides that, I do have a couple of questions, and some questions regarding the document and the information that we have, and I already mentioned that to Vanessa earlier this morning, but and because all of this are legal documents that we are agreeing to, that have been done by professionals, but before we move forward, I wanted to bring them up and put them on the record, whether they need to be fixed or not. But one of the questions was in the in 2.0 section of the revised summary of the EIR. I'm not even sure if anybody will be able to follow where I'm at because there's so many pages that there are so many different sections. So if you go to the 2.0 of the revised summary EIR, there's no pages really. So let's try page 216. And maybe this is for the planner here.
270 of the agenda.
So section, it's SRI-1, and it reads, the project applicant will pay a fair share of the cost of installing traffic signals at the intersection of Hammett Avenue and State Route 99 northbound ramps, and Hammett Avenue and SR 99 southbound ramps. Fair share costs shall be determined by the city engineer. But then right next to it, where it says under the section significance after mitigation, it has NA. So I'm assuming that it's not applicable, we won't be asking the developer to pay their fair share of any additional costs for installing traffic signals as needed? Is that right? So this doesn't apply, so we're basically, are we asking not to pay their fair share? Is that what it means?
Well, this kind of gets into the weeds of how the CEQA environmental process is run, but these are genuine recommendations that come from the traffic study that the traffic engineer recommends that the city apply to the project, but they are not technically mitigation measures for significant environmental effects. And that's because the legislature changed the way that we have done things for decades just a couple of years ago and required that we analyze transportation effects in a different way. So the analysis of what needs to be improved to fix intersections and streets and so on is was made irrelevant by the legislature for the purposes of CEQA, but it's still 100% relevant to the city and its public works department in order to maintain existing streets and make improvements that are needed to handle the traffic that's generated by the project and other projects. So I hope that wasn't too convoluted, but does that answer your question?
Kind of. But so let me just say yes, it did.
That's
fair. So what I'm hearing is that even though it is recommended, it doesn't mean that we have to approve it. We can still suggest that we could consider a fair share of any possible installation of traffic signals as a city, right?
It's true that you don't have to. It's also, well, it's true that you don't have to impose any of the mitigation measures that are in the EIR on the project. But it's just distinguished from normal mitigation measures by the fact that we're talking about traffic improvements that have just been set aside by the legislature, but they're still relevant and they're still things that ought to show up or could show up in your conditions of approval for the project. Now, I don't know whether they do or not. I haven't studied the conditions, but
I was going to mention that real quick, that there's the conditions of approval, like under item number 6, they should pay applicable development impact fees on municipal facilities, streets, bridges, so it addresses that concern you're talking about under the conditions of approval. Or at least some of those concerns. So basically, you're saying there's two documents, a CEQA document, and then there's what the city is asking for under the conditions of approval, correct?
So it is addressed on item number 6, that they will be able to pay their fair share? Mr. Mayor?
Yes, we're looking at those conditions right now. Conditions 5 and 6 incorporate those requirements from the summary table. Those two traffic improvement mitigations.
So the answer is yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Let me see. If you can go to the next page, I think, no, 2 more pages. Page 2-18. Never mind, that's the same thing. And then, let's see. Are we at the overriding considerations yet, or should I wait section?
Well, I think all of these actions are in one motion,
Okay.
so.
Is that
it would
right,
be-
Tom? Okay, so,
It's all one resolution.
okay, all right, thank you. So, if we can go to that Exhibit C, as in Carlos, Statement of Overriding Considerations, page 2.2, page 2.2. Are you there? Yeah? Okay, thank you. So to the second to last paragraph, it reads, the project would pay its fair share, right? A cost. So the project would pay its fair share of costs to improving city intersections and installing traffic signals, as well as widen the segment of Main Street fronting the project site, which we already have that, and adding bicycle and pedestrian facilities, thereby improving flow and safety of the city's transportation system for residents, visitors, and commercial and industrial activities. Specifically, pedestrian facilities will be extended from the project site to Pearl, it reads Pearl Avenue. I'm assuming, and I believe that should be Peach Avenue?
That's correct. That's a typographical error.
I have a magnet for typographical errors. But I just wanted it. But anyway, so right before that, where it reads bicycle and pedestrian facilities, do we have that in the plans? I understand that we're widening the street, but I don't remember reading anything about bicycle and pedestrian facilities. What does that mean?
Well, the pedestrian facilities are the sidewalks that are a part of the frontage improvements. And frankly, I can't remember whether that section of Main Street is sized for a bike path or not. It would probably be an on-street one, but I was wondering if the engineer knew the answer to that by any chance? Excellent, okay, all right, Main Street. And that's on both sides, right? Well, yeah, right, okay. Okay, great. The answer is yes, there is a 8-foot bikeway provided for in the widening of Main Street.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So,
Sure.
all right, and then we'll just move on with, okay. And a couple more questions, if I may. And I know I was not part of the meeting, and I apologize for not being there. I'm not going to blame anyone or, for that miscommunication part. But Who was, well, anyways, I believe everyone else was there. And were there any other council members at that meeting, Vanessa?
Yes, I was there.
Was there anybody else? No? Okay. So was there any conversation, I know that I asked this question last time, was there any conversation in regards to the possibility and consideration of a full basketball court in that, I know that someone, I don't remember his name, but he did mention that possibly that would be something, but possibly doesn't mean anything. Was that discussed at all at that meeting?
We limited to going over the 3 items that were brought up as concerns. We didn't discuss anything else.
So I guess this is an opportunity for the developer or somebody else. Is that a consideration? Because it does, even though we can probably go back and say the impact fees will cover some of the park and recreation opportunities for the residents in the community, but I know that there's the nearest park, the nearest other park, it's a few blocks away, and as it is, I know because the other apartment complex, a lot of those kids, they go out and play to a basketball court in a nearby park, and even residents or kids from across town, they travel all the way over here just to have that opportunity. So I'm only thinking about those future residents, those kids. They would definitely, basketball, it's one of the biggest sport activities that our kids are into. So I just wanted to ask that question, if that was something that it wasn't discussed, but something to be considered and put as a recommendation in this project.
I got a question for Tom, for legal. The fact that Councilmember Moran lives right across the park he's talking about, would that be a conflict on this question?
From where?
From the park he's talking about, he lives across the street, like he doesn't want residents, more people going there, would that be a conflict?
You know, conflicts are, I usually don't make decisions about conflicts from the dais. With those facts, yes, Mr. Moran, Councilman, you want to discuss that?
Councilmember Moran.
So, do you live within, what's the distance between you and the project?
About probably a little bit over half a mile. Closer to a mile, probably.
Okay. And so the concern is about which?
The concern is that Councilmember Moran is talking about the park that's right across the street with the basketball court. Would that have a conflict in him trying to put a basketball court somewhere else?
Oh, no, that wouldn't.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up for clarification, Mr. Gang. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So the question is out there for the developer. Is that a consideration for the residents in that project? I'm not going to go play basketball at that court for sure. I don't even play basketball because I cannot run. I have both broken feet, so I cannot jump anymore.
Good evening, I'm Max Garcia with GDR Engineering. I'll try to answer, again, I was maybe vague last time because the final designs haven't been done. We've put together with what we thought would be the best mitigation on this project. We've got 2 large park sites that also work out as the basin areas. We do have a smaller lawn area here we thought would be more of a playground for smaller children. That could become a court there if that's, a lot of it's going to be maybe as we see what the people really want, because that'll kind of be built in a second phase. this, this bottom section. So if we see that there's a need, that a basketball court could easily go there. If you'll notice, we have a pool that could be converted, but we thought the pool would be a better use that everybody could have than the basketball. Only a few people, not everybody plays basketball. You say you don't, I wouldn't either. So we're trying to find the issues that would be the best for everyone. It's a gated community, so we're trying to provide as much recreation inside the project so the kids don't have to go outside. And that's probably the best I can answer today, because the final designs might change as far as recreation as we see what the needs are of the people who move into the units. Thank you.
All right,
So
thank you.
just to be clear, it's a gated community, so outside residents, are they allowed to come into the complex for the recreational use to save?
No, this is a private community here. People who live there will have the security that these facilities are for their use, and they're gated it's a gated community.
Okay, so when we're talking about the CFDs, what park are we benefiting? Memorial?
It would be the parks that the CFD it maintains around the city. So the CFD has already a map.
Area?
Right. It's not for, it wouldn't be for the parks within their units, but it's for the parks within the area annexed by the CFD.
Which would be Memorial or Sing?
I would have to look into the CFDs.
This will all be privately maintained. There'll be private facilities. So the fees will be paid as any other unit in the city would, but the facilities in this area will be privately maintained. And so they'll actually have less people from this area using your other city parks, because they'll have their own parks within this area they're maintaining themselves. So there's less impact to the city as a whole than a regular project would have, because most people are going to stay within their community.
Thank you. Council, any other questions at this time? Comments? Okay, in regards to myself, I don't have any specific questions, but I know definitely we had a good conversation 2 weeks ago. To me, obviously, I had the similar concerns, especially specific to the 3 stories and the fire capability of our city to fight fire, not specifically to call volume, but more to actual structural fires. Obviously, we have to measure what's the greater good for the city at this time. To me, I mean, it's a great project. It'll bring, more revenue, and yeah, I agree. You guys are paying the impact fees and the CFDs, which could help address some of those concerns we have. But I also think that, the city should have addressed this. I agree with Councilmember Jose Morana. It should have been better planned in the past councils, and should have been, something that the city should have looked into or planned decades ago. But we are trying to address those now as we speak. We are scheduled a meeting with the county in regards to our second firefighter here coming pretty soon. And I know with partnership and support of each other, we could come up with ideas to address not only the truck situation, but a new fire station. And I do hope that we continue with that partnership and communication with each other to address those needs. But like I said, you have to look at the greater good. I know there's a lot of concerns, a lot of impact, but do we want to let this project go? It's a huge project for the city. I don't want to make the same mistakes that have been made in the past where developers were coming to town and because of this and the back and forth, they just left to another city. I don't want to make that same mistake. So at this time, we'll take any public comment or concerns.
Mayor, if I may add.
Go ahead.
I do have one more slide.
Oh, sorry.
So besides what we just went over, I do want to point that within our staff report, the staff recommendation is to adopt the resolutions certifying the final EIR, adopting a statement of overriding considerations, and adopting the site plan design review 2019-04 for the villages at the main project. Tonight's council action, it's to hold a public hearing, which is a continuation of the September 21st, 2021, and give staff direction on this.
Thank you, Vanessa. One last thing I would like to add, under the conditions of approval, the similar language we used for the previous apartment complex. I don't know if you guys remember, where it states that they would help or assist or support the city with obtaining monies, grants, opportunities to address the fire needs. I don't know if Randy left that behind, the similar language.
Yeah, it said, and I believe this was something that it was shared with the developer last meeting.
And you guys were in agreement, I believe.
The city or the developer shall work in partnership with the city to seek for funding or other sources in order to facilitate fire needs or public safety needs.
Thank you. So this time I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Public comment at this time?
Hi, Council. Mandeep Singh here. Just a quick question. The mitigation concerns around the canal, I see here Mr. Garcia from GDR Engineering has requested the city relieve the developer of these fees. Would then the city pay for those, or those fees just not happen?
I'm sorry, but I'm not sure which.
It is page 276 of the agenda. There's a letter written dated June 23rd, 2021. Our clients have requested we prepare this letter on their behalf. Our clients are proposing a well-planned and designed market rate rental apartment project. This project will help the city of Livingston meeting its critical housing needs. To be able to achieve the goals both the city and our client are requesting, the city council to recognize the economic considerations and social benefits. We request these overriding considerations to be supported. And then the previous page, it says related to the Arena Canal. So in the letter itself, there's a cost about upwards about $900,000 that needs to be paid to cover up the canal. So since this is in the agenda, if it gets passed, would they be relieved of that?
No, those would be developer costs that would have to be paid by the proponent.
Okay.
The cost of putting the canal underground.
So that is requested, so that is in the agenda, but everything is in the agenda gets passed, right? Like if it's
Yeah, this
voted on?
that element of the project is described in the applications. It's also in the conditions of approval, number 8, that responsibility will be theirs. But from the beginning, that part of the project has been a part of the project that is the developer's obligation to construct.
Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Yes, Mike Torres. Yeah, my concern is, I like the project and everything, but my concern is what is the biggest change from the talk of CAL FIRE about that they didn't have the equipment to be, well, they didn't have the equipment to respond to a fire that was out there. He gave us a big talk about the fire. Now, what was the main change on that? They still don't have the equipment.
He's specifically talking to, what was the change you said between, I guess what was stated during the meeting and CAL FIRE? Is that correct?
Well, you were here when he was talking about.
Okay, so I think the people that came up and expressed their concerns, it's from they were speaking on behalf of being residents of our city, not on behalf of the fire department. But I know that CAL FIRE or personnel were also consulted. Obviously went through the process. Is that correct?
Yes, as part of the EIR certifications, the CAL FIRE, police, everybody's at the table giving, providing guidance and approving the project itself. So this has gone through fire for approval, police, planning, all of the levels of city staffing. But I did want to share too that, like besides the equipment, which where we believe that the developer it's providing that fire impact fee that will help the city to purchase in the future some infrastructure, some capital improvements, some equipment. What we are doing right now for the city is to ensure that we have the staffing that could maneuver and operate that extra equipment. So, and I believe that is one of the, that was the essence of the discussion with our volunteer firefighters, that the city was much in need of personnel. And right now, as we speak, we are looking into ways in which we can augment the fire department staffing in order for us to be able to operate the equipment in the future for the new development.
That's very good and true, but we don't have the money right now to get that equipment or the manpower. This is why, like I say, I like the project and everything, but this is why I say that our CAL FIRE should have been at a project meeting, so these people wouldn't spend all their time and all their money and him come up here at the last minute, and you people deny the program, but not with modifications. Now, it's good if these people go. But my last thing to say is that if these people got modified on the project due to the fire department not coming up here telling them in the first place, then the project on B Street should have the same courtesy to come back and modify their plan, so that maybe it'll go through also. What's good for one goose is good for the other duck. So otherwise, to me, it's not going to be fair. And we're going to be transparent, and we're going to try to do the same at the same city, 2 different projects. It's going to benefit the city. So it's going to look bad if you don't let the other project have another chance to modify their program. Now, you guys think about this. So like I say, I like this project if it's done right, but the other project should have the same chance too. Well, that's all I got to say.
Thank you. And then just to go back real quick in regards to the volunteer company that came and spoke to concerns, I mean, they're all valid concerns, definitely. And I mean, they've been here for a very long time and know the city and their needs. So we want to make sure we definitely keep them in the loop and in the conversations and understand their needs and all that good stuff. And yes, you're right. I mean, the essence of everything I know from speaking to CAL FIRE is the personnel. You know, it starts with staffing. Without staffing, you can't have the fire truck, the ladder truck, and all that good stuff. So I know we're trying to find the funds for that and have a meeting this month actually with the county in regards to that. So hopefully sooner than later we'll be able to address at least some staffing needs there. Thank you. Go ahead.
Colette Alvarez, P.O. Box 255. I'm going to ask my question and then I'll wait for the answer. What is the maximum population for this building? You can stop the clock while I wait for my answer.
All we can provide is an estimate of what the population would be. There is no maximum. In fact, the city is prohibited from establishing any maximum population for residential unit. So what we have done, or what I can tell you, is that Let me check my notes here. Yeah, the average occupancy rate in Livingston is about 4.24 people per housing unit. And that doesn't distinguish between 1, 2, 3-bedroom or larger units. But at that rate, 480 units would produce 2,035 new persons. That's if the proposed units were occupied at that rate. But the fact is, those, family sizes and who occupies the new rental units will be a function of the leasing process and the management objectives of the apartment complex and pricing and any number of other variables.
Thank you. And also, we have multi-families living in homes. We know it's occurring. One thing that was not addressed here is traffic. We spent a long time talking about traffic, and it's a disservice to say noise, elevator, and fire. They have not looked at traffic other than just going towards Hammett. People will drive towards Whitten Parkway. It was intentionally, because we had the traffic guy, the traffic expert, it was an intentional oversight. He has said that he has decided people aren't going to drive that way. Well, people drive different ways in the community. I'm very concerned somebody is going to get hurt. I like the high density project. I actually like this project. But is it feasible at this point in time? And that is what needs to be decided with CEQA. Make no mistake, this is still the public hearing process. When they say, well, we've gone through this, and we've gone through this, and we've gone through this, you look back in your documents, and I've been saying, look at this, look at this. This is my concern. All along, this is my concern. I'm like, saying it again, this is my concern. 8-foot bike road, 8 feet for bikes on Main Street. Well, you're going to widen the street 25 feet. Bicycles aren't going to just ride 25 feet. They're going to ride farther. Whose lawn are you going to take? Are you taking out Bank of America? Are you taking out Winton, Ireland? How far are you going to widen this? This is very narrow. You have not done your due diligence. There's also something called I talked to my neighbor, Doug Wells. He says there's something called a malfeasant in office. That means when you know that there's a potential hazard and you go ahead and pass it anyway, you can be held liable. And we have the fire volunteer people or whatever, they came here with their concern. I've come here with our concern. For every dollar you get in development, it costs you $2 in maintaining it. Water. We've talked before about water. You don't have the water. Just sitting here, I heard somebody went 5 hours without water. I heard there's a TCP problem and we don't have water. Well, we do 4.24, I believe you said. That's 2,000 people. Do we have enough water for 2,000 more people? Water is critical. Sewage. I was told today on my way here, the VFW, they're backing up their sewer. You don't have the sewer. And the terrible thing is, the sewer master plan you were using was the court set aside with the illegal 42-inch sewer line. It's not even supposed to be used. You used the wrong document. And I put that in my public comments. Whitten Parkway is backed up. We've got a problem here. So before we pass it, yes, I like the project. You have to figure out your infrastructure. And widening the road out to the country isn't going to solve your problem. Because what's going to happen, and I mentioned ag too, you have a growth-inducing project that will impact agriculture in a significant manner. And you're saying, no, there's no significance there. And we'll just write it down on the paper. We'll just write, well, we have a paper that says there's enough water. What this place is, and the CEQA process, is when the citizens come together and say, yeah, I know the paper says this, but this is real life. This is what's happening in the city. This is happening at the VFW. This is happening with, I think it was David Blevins was out with water for 5 hours. I don't know why. TCP, Catherine Schell just said, you don't have enough water enough money to fix it. Traffic. We've already lost a child going to school because of it. How many cars are going to be going to Livingston High School, coming out of there? You have students going to the high school, and you have, what? I think you said that there was going to be 480 units. How many of them are going to have cars, and how many are going to have more than one car? This is a high-end apartment building. This isn't cheap. This isn't low income. This is a gated community, what the market could bear. They are saying, we're going to charge as much money as we can. We want to get really nice people in here with nice paying jobs that have more than one car, who have the affluency to give their kids more than one car. These apartments, these 3-bedroom apartments, they're beautiful. They're like over 2,000 square feet. You might have multi-families living in there. I don't know. And I know you say the leasing office, but people sneak people in. Not everybody's going to be honest. I don't think your roads can handle it. And I think someone's going to die, and I think someone's going to come back and say, City of Livingston, we have these documents, and we're going to sue you. I'd like you just to do it because I think it's the right thing to do. Say, hey, it's a good project, but we can't take care of it right now. By the way, I was talking about all traffic, not just sirens going by there. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Hilda Lopez. So it's my understanding that this project is going to be completed in phases. Is that correct? Correct. Do we have a timeline on when we expect to see the project completed?
I don't personally have that information, but I know the applicant has spoken to it in past public meetings.
But we expect this to go on for years, not, another year to
Yes.
completion.
Does the
I
developer,
would say it would be a matter of at least a few years, if not more.
does the developer want to answer that question?
Yeah, the project will be built in phases. We don't know how quickly it'll fill in. We've got to do a minimum amount initially because we have a lot of expense with the undergrounding of the irrigation canal, building Main Street all the way out and widening it. So we'll probably, the first phase, how many units? Probably 100 to 120 units in the first phase. Now, how quickly those fill in, if it takes 2 years or whatever, then we'll start a second phase. They'll probably build a couple buildings at a time or whatever. But that all depends on, how well, it does. This is a long-term project, but it's designed for that with all the, like you see the parks and whatever, those will be built as the project increases in size. We'll always keep up with the number of parking spaces we need and the amenities we need. Now, the clubhouse and all those things in front will be built with the first phase. So the first phase will actually be overbuilt for the number of people that will actually be there.
Okay.
Traffic, I'll address that for a second. We're widening that street to the general plan width for Main Street. And as far as the cars, all these streets in town are built for certain thousands of cars per day. And as growth occurs, not just this project, every project, we're going to see more cars. That's the way the whole California is. But these roads are built to handle the cars. And that's why the traffic study shows that the streets can handle the traffic. And sure, we have times a day, like around a school, that we say, well, it's overcrowded. Well, you can't design roads for that peak hour that the school is there. But you go by there when non-school hours, and you'll see that the roads are definitely designed to handle the traffic.
So while I agree with everybody and their concerns that maybe Livingston is not ready for this project at this moment, what it sounds like is that we have time to work on these things. And we have already put in place meetings and, measures to hopefully mitigate some of the concerns that our residents are expressing. So as a resident who had trouble moving back to Livingston when I wanted to because of the lack of housing, I would urge the council to pass this resolution tonight because we want to be a forward-thinking entity. We don't want to be stuck in the, well, we can't do it now, so we're not going to do it. Because eventually, somebody's going to do it, and all these concerns are going to fall by the wayside because they're not a concern anymore. Why not have a project in place that is going to force us to address these concerns in a timely, time-lapsed manner? This project is not going to go in overnight, and there's been several projects that have come before the council that have been passed over the last couple months, and I feel like this one has gotten a lot of scrutiny, perhaps because of the size of it. But I want to remind our residents that this isn't going to be built overnight. We're not going to wake up one day and there's going to be 480 brand new units. We will have time to adjust as a community, work on the opportunities that this project has presented, while also meeting criteria that the state is mandating and just a need that our community has. We have a great need for housing, and not just affordable housing. Some of us, fortunately, do not qualify to live in affordable housing, and so we are it's that middle class thing, you're kind of forgotten. And so I would hate to see this project get thrown to the wayside just because we can't do it now. We need to be forward thinking, and we need to think of the future of our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other public comment?
Diego Castillo, P.O. Box 855. Just as a developer in general, and I think I spoke in my opinion and my experience as far as development, any project, whether you do a single family, whether you do a multifamily, because all the regulations and guidelines we have to go through as a developer, it's very hard to get a unit or a project off the ground in less than a year. Even if it's one single family residence, by the time you get all the permit process and utilities underground, typically it's 1 year. So this is going to be a project that's going to go in phases. And in my opinion, and I think I expressed this in the past, and again, I have nothing to do with this project. I know very little other than the same as all the other residents. But in my opinion, and I expressed this before, is the shortage we're having, not just here in the city, but in the state nationwide, is lack of units. And the reason we're having increase in rents and home prices is, again, lack of units. If you just go with basic supply and demand, if we have 20 units, 20 tenants per 1 unit, I mean that's going to increase the amount of pricing because there's not enough supply. And if it was the other way around, I'm not saying to unbalance it, but I think we have a long ways to go before we get there. I mean, easy a decade we're underbuilt. If you had 20 units in one applicant, I think the market or the experience of the community would be different. And I also believe that some of us might be fortunate enough to own a home, but there is a portion of the community that, as we all started, that didn't own a home. And I think to not have more housing stock, whether it's the affordable project that came in the past or whether it's market like this, I think we're not doing what's best for the community because we're not allowing there to be a starting point because we don't have enough housing. So, and for the future, again, I think I relay this on some of my personal projects. When a project like this gets to the council, it's already checked all the boxes. Granted, it's good that we have input from the residents, but this project already checked the boxes, or else it wouldn't have made it in front of you. And I would just lack if the council has any questions. Maybe once you see this stuff hit to attend the planning commission, or attend the planning commission, or maybe ask your in-house staff, like whether it be the engineer, public works, fire, police, for information before it goes to council. That way you guys are a little bit more informed, and it makes the things go a little bit smoother, and it also doesn't seem like you guys are approving something that shouldn't be approved. So that's it.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll bring it back to council.
You have to
Or-
close,
Oh, sorry. We're closing the public hearing at 9:28 PM. Bring it back to council for direction and,
well, I'll make a motion to approve it.
you want to read the thing and then you want
We have
to
to
make
read
sure
it?
that we have
Which one?
the 20, oh, sorry.
Just the title of the
That's right,
resolution.
yeah. And then that, with the condition of approval, same language as last time.
Yes. Are you reading it, or?
I have a
Okay.
question for legal before I move forward.
Go ahead.
Based on Mr. Kang's further investigation and research that he provided to you, is there a conflict of interest for me to participate in this item?
Councilman, I'd have to, we don't have time to do it here tonight for me to determine that.
So what do you want me to do? I mean, what do you suggest? What is your legal advice at this moment?
Well, when last-minute conflicts come up, I always say, when in doubt, conflict out. And that would be the not participate.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead and read the,
So what do we,
can we get that slide back up? Because I think that's where the,
the resolution to approve that?
yeah, so it'll be the resolution certifying the final, all that. Right?
I can't.
To my understanding, we've already read
Oh, we
the
did?
title of the resolution, though, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. And then just with the.
With the condition of the other one?
Okay. So we're adding that 25th condition of approval?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. We have a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Kang.
Monica, we need to turn it. Thank you.
Motion approved by a vote of 3-1, and 1 no voting.
Thank you. Congratulations. Good luck. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to council direction on future agenda items. Does anybody have anything? Future items? No? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Just kidding.
So, once again, I want to touch on the consideration for the Council and Recreation Joint Committee. We didn't touch that. And now that everyone's here, so maybe we can, or I don't know what kind of direction Council wants to give, so we can have that joint meeting as soon as possible.
Yeah, I know Monica had made an attempt to schedule that. I think that's a good process. And I would need to check my dates with work for the next week or so. I can't, I would need to check. I wasn't ready for a scheduled meeting tonight, but that's for me though. But I don't know if anybody else is ready to provide dates.
Yeah, I'm not ready also.
So maybe you could have Monica reach out to us again, like she did. Monica, Recreation has a meeting next.
But
We need a joint meeting for the fee schedule.
that will be the same day of the street fair, yeah. So they won't have a meeting per se.
So Monica, yes,
Yeah,
I guess Monica could reach out.
Give us a call and reach out to us.
Yeah, reach out to us, and
Yes.
then I could provide some dates as soon as tomorrow with my work schedule.
And the other thing is, if we can consider having the recreation fee schedule discussed soon, because recreation is.
I think that's part of the joint,
Okay.
the joint meeting.
All right, thank you.
Also, for the next agenda, can we also, I don't know if we had started the process for the Planning Commission, the vacant.
Yeah, I think that's in the work, that's in the pipeline. It's scheduled for the next council meeting. So for the vacant seat, right? Okay, perfect. And the alternate, perfect. Any other items? Council, we're good? We're adjourning our meeting at 9:33 PM.